Hello everyone, a very warm welcome to my channel Success Drivers by Deepti. In my today's video, we would be learning about NES 103 Unit 2. So the name of Unit 2 here is What is Learning? Let's begin with what is learning. Understand the meaning of the word learning. In our previous unit also, we have learned the meaning of the word learning. Learning means the modification in the behavior of an individual due to the experiences. So as the child experiences more and more things in his or her life, he is going to modify his behavior. There would be changes that we can see in the behavior of an organism. This is called as learning. Let's proceed ahead. Now let's learn about the theories of learning. The theories of learning can be classified into two types. The first one is behavioristic theories and the second one is the cognitive theories. Let's learn about the behavioristic theories first. According to the behaviorists, they say that we are a complete blank slate in the beginning. So when we are the infants, we are a newborn baby, we have just entered into the world. We do not know anything about this world. So that means we are a complete blank slate. Anything written on the slate would be remembered by us. यानी कि अगर आप हमें कुछ भी सिखाओगे वो हमें बहुत long time तक इफेक्ट करेगा, influence करेगा. So that is what is called as the environment. The environment plays an important role in these theories of behaviorism. So environment has its role in behaviorism. Secondly, it focuses on the conditioning of a child. That means we are going to train the child accordingly. So a child is a blank slate. Second point, it says environment affects a child. And the third point, it says conditioning is important. So under behaviorism, we are having two theories. The first one is classical conditioning and the second one is operant conditioning. Let's learn about both these theories in detail. Now let's learn about the first theory here, which is written by Ivan Pavlov. This theory is classical conditioning, one of the most common theories of behaviorism. So Ivan P. Pavlov, what did he do? He took a dog, he kept it hungry for entire night, and then on the next day he gave the food to the dog. Now what happened? All of a sudden when the dog sees the food, which is the stimulus here, so food is the stimulus here. As soon as the dog sees the food, he starts reacting. What is the reaction of the dog here? He starts salivating. उसका थूक निकलना शुरू हो जाता है. He starts salivating. That means this is his response towards the food, which is the stimulus. Now let's see what happens next. After a few days of experimenting the same thing again and again, that is giving the food and seeing the salivation, he started to do a twist and turn here. What did Ivan P. Pavlov do here? He began to rang a bell just before giving the food to the dog. So यानी कि खाना मिलने से पहले bell ring होती थी. अब bell ring होने पर dog को समझ आने लगा that the food is going to appear before him. So now as soon as the bell started ringing, the dog used to salivate. So this is a quick reaction by the dog. Within a few days, we were able to see this experiment and the dog salivating on the ringing of the bell. So the next time, what did he do? He just rang the bell and the dog started salivating. This time the food did not appear before him. So slowly and steadily, we could not see any reaction performed by the dog. This is the entire experiment which was in a sequence performed by Ivan P. Pavlov. Now let's learn about this one by one. The bell here is a neutral stimulus and the food here is the unconditioned stimulus, which leads to salivation, which is the unconditioned response. Now this unconditioned response is changed to a conditioned response by just ringing the bell and not giving the food to the dog. So this is the entire experiment performed by Ivan P. Pavlov. Now there are a few principles of this theory. Let's learn about the principles related to classical conditioning. The first principle here says principle of association. Association means to link something with the other one. So here the stimulus response reaction, we are going to recall the same. So as soon as the food is given to the dog, it is started to salivating. The second time we are ringing the bell and then giving the food to the dog. So now the dog is able to establish an association between both the things. That means ringing of the bell means the giving of the food. So here the dog associates both the things. He links both the things. This is the first principle here, principle of association. The second principle here is principle of extinction. When we do not provide the food to the dog, even if the bell is ringing, so he stops salivating. That means there would be an extinction in his behavior, in the behavior that the dog was showing. So that means the dog will stop salivating if we do not give the stimulus to him. So this is called as extinction. That means we are no more able to see the behavior of the dog. Third here is the principle of spontaneous recovery. That means just after a few days, if we start with the same process of giving the food, as soon as we ring the bell, the dog will again start salivating. दैट मीन्स हमें वो बिहेवियर जो है वो वापस मिल सकता है अगर हम कुछ दिनों के बाद वापस से ये एक्सपेरिमेंटेशन चालू कर देंगे. सो दिस इज स्पॉन्टेनियस रिकवरी. दैट मीन्स स्पॉन्टेनियस इज क्विकली, इमीडिएटली, एंड रिकवरी मीन्स दैट वी कैन गेट द सेम बिहेवियर बैक if we show the same stimulus to the dog. The next one is generalization, the principle of generalization. That means we can ring any bell. The dog would able to associate the bell with the food. So here you're going to ring a long bell or a short bell. The dog is definitely going to generalize the sound of the bell and he is going to perform the same reaction. So these are a few principles here which are related to the classical conditioning. Now let's learn about the second behaviorism theory, which is operant conditioning, and this theory is written by B.F. Skinner. So let's learn about this theory now. Now B.F. Skinner prepared a special box called as a Skinner box for this experiment. Now what did he do? He took a rat and placed the rat inside the Skinner box. Now as soon as the rat was inside the Skinner box, it started moving here and there. The Skinner box was in the form of a maze. वो एक maze की तरह था, एक jumble riddle kind of था. So यहाँ पे क्या होता था? There was a lever, there was a button there. As soon as we click the button or we jump on the button, there would be a pellet, there would be a food which would appear before us. एक food की pellet जो है वो हमारे पास गिर जाएगी. So now the rat was moving here and there when all of a sudden he clicked the lever. Now as soon as it jumped on the lever, there was a food pellet which he received. Now the rat was very happy and he ate it. The next time when the rat was put inside the maze box, it was again very afraid of it. Now it started moving here and there was spontaneously that he clicked a lever button and he could get the pellet. Now slowly and steadily there was a change in the behavior of the rat. It started moving around that place where there was the lever. यानी कि उसे अब कुछ पता चल चुका था कि इस बॉक्स में जैसे ही मैं जाऊंगा वैसे ही मुझे एक लेवर को प्रेस करना है. लेवर को प्रेस करने के बाद मेरे पास फूड की पैलेट आ जाएगी. एंड स्लोली एंड स्टेडीली वी कुड सी द चेंज इन द बिहेवियर ऑफ द रैट. Now there was a time after a few days when the rat just would go at the lever. He would press the lever, get the food pellet and go outside the box. So this is how the rat learned the behavior while moving inside the Skinner box. So this is the entire experiment performed by B.F. Skinner. Now what do we understand with this experiment? Here with the experiment that we can understand is the reinforcement. Reinforcement means the thing that we are getting in return. If we are showing some behavior to a person or to a thing or maybe to this box here, so we are going to get a reinforcement for the same. That means a kind of a gift for it. So here the rat gets the reinforcement every time and is motivated to do the same behavior again and again. This was the entire experimentation of the operant conditioning. Now let's learn about the principles which are related to the operant conditioning. The first one here is the principle of shaping the behavior. Shaping the behavior means molding something, just like a blank slate that we read earlier. So under the behaviorism, they consider the child as a blank slate. They consider the child as a clay, which can be easily molded into any shape and size. So here also we are shaping the behavior of an individual using this experiment. Shaping means to mold the behavior of an individual. The next one is principle of reinforcement. That means gifting something to someone. So here we are gifting a pellet to the rat and the rat is performing the same behavior again and again. Similarly, when we give a pen or a pencil, maybe something which is good for a child, then he is going to perform the same thing again and again. So let's go for some positive reinforcement in the schools. The next behavior, the next principle here is the schedules of the reinforcement. Schedules of reinforcement are of 5 types. The first one is continuous. So continuous means that you are going to get a pellet every time you go into the box. So here, according to the experiment, as soon as you go into the Skinner box, you are going to get a reinforcement continuously every time you go inside. The second schedule of reinforcement is fixed ratio. That means you're going to get 2 pellets every time you go inside the Skinner box. So whether you perform any task, you perform the action or not, you are going to get a pellet every time. So this is the fixed ratio. 2 means 2. The next one is fixed interval. That means you're going to get a pellet after a few intervals. 5 seconds, again 5 seconds, again 5 seconds. You're going to get the pellet after every 5 seconds. Next one, variable ratio. So the ratio can vary according to your behavior here. It can be 5:2. That means you're performing the behavior 2 times, but you're getting the pellet 5 times. So the ratio may differentiate or vary as per the rat. The next one is variable interval. That means you can get a pellet anytime. So it can be after 5 seconds, maybe after 2 seconds, then after 10 seconds. So now you are going to get the pellet anytime. It's varying because it is variable interval. So these are the schedules of reinforcement under the principles of conditioning. The last one here is behavior modification. So we can see the modifying behavior of the rat as soon as it is put into the Skinner box every time. So firstly, it did not show any reaction. Slowly and steadily, he just jumped on the lever and got the pellet. So there was a behavior modification in this case. These are a few principles related to the operant conditioning. Let's proceed ahead. Now we would be learning about the cognitive view of learning. Under the cognitive view of learning, there is only one model, which is information processing model. So let's learn about the information processing model in detail. So herein, we believe that the computer is similar to the human mind, or we can say the human brain just functions like a computer operation. So let's understand this entire process with the help of an example. Stimulus. There is first of all any stimulus acting to us. So here we can say that the stimulus is the sum written on the board for a child. So there is a sum written by a teacher on the board, and this acts as a stimulus for all of us. So now as soon as we see the stimulus, it is our receptors, our sense organs which start acting. As soon as you see the sum written on the board, you can feel that your eyes start reading that thing. Your lips start murmuring that thing. So the receptors, they start acting as soon as they see the stimulus. So just after the stimulus, we have the receptors. That means our sense organs. Next thing here is when we pay attention, we get all the things registered to our senses. That means if we are going to pay attention to it, we are going to concentrate on the board, then you are going to receive all these things into your sensory register here. That means that usually happens with all of us. हम eyes बंद करते तो हमें वही चीज याद आती है जो हमने पहले देखी थी. So why so? Because that thing is registered to your senses. This is your sensory register. Now, if you are going to pay more attention to it, you are going to enter into your short memory span. So that means the sum is going to enter into your short memory span. So it usually happens with the kids. They pay attention in the school. The things are registered into their memory, into their short-term memory. They tell their parents and then they tend to forget the things. वो भूल जाते हैं उस चीज़ को. ऐसा क्यों होता है? क्योंकि वो आगे attention नहीं pay करते हैं. After the short-term memory, if we focus on the short-term memory, उसके बाद अगर हम उसे rehearse करते रहते हैं, we keep on maintaining and rehearsing the thing again and again. Here the sums are rehearsed and practiced again and again. Then they are going to enter into the long-term memory. उसके बाद आता है long-term memory. यानी कि आपको बहुत सारी अटेंशन पे करनी पड़ेगी और उसके बाद आपका जो भी सम है, कोई भी प्रॉब्लम है, कोई भी इशू है, कोई क्वेरी है, वो सभी चीज़ें जो है वो लॉन्ग टर्म मेमोरी के अंदर एंटर कर सकती हैं. So after the long term memory, we are going to show a response towards that thing. So this is the entire chain that we are going to follow here. The first thing is the stimulus, which is received by us. The second thing is that our receptors, our sense organs, they are going to receive the stimulus. The third thing here would be that after paying a few attention, much of concentration to the same thing, you're going to feel that you're going to receive this information into your mind. That is your sensory register. After the sensory register, you're going to get this information into your short-term memory. अगर आप थोड़ा और ध्यान देंगे तो आपके लॉन्ग टर्म मेमोरी के अंदर वही चीज एंटर कर सकती है. And if you keep on rehearsing all the things again and again, you can recall the long-term memory for a long time. So this is the entire information processing model. That means how are we going to get the information and how are we going to process it for a longer period of time. So this is the entire point of view written by cognitive writers. Now we have learned about the behaviorism and the cognitive point of view. Now we would be learning about the observational learning. Observation and then learning. So observational learning is also called as the social learning. So what is social learning? Learning from the society. That means you're going to focus somewhere, you're going to observe someone for a long period of time, and then you're going to learn something. So this is called as the social learning. Learning by observing and modeling. Modeling means imitating something or the other. Social learning focuses on the following principles. Let's learn about those principles now. People can learn the behavior by focusing or observing the behaviors and the outcomes of those behaviors. So if we wish to learn some behavior, we need to focus on one person or the other, and we need to observe keenly that what's happening and what is the outcome or the result of this behavior. Second thing is reinforcement. Reinforcement is always going to act as an important role, as an important element in the observational or the social learning. The third thing is the four components that are related to the modeling. The four components here are attention, retention, mental reproduction, and the motivation. Let's learn about all these factors one by one. The first one is attention. So whenever you see something, you have to pay attention to it. Only then you're going to learn that thing. So this is read by us in the cognitive point of view as well. So they also said the same thing, that if we are going to focus, concentrate, and then pay attention, then you're going to have a long-term memory. Same goes for the observational learning as well. The next one is retention. That means for how long you're going to retain something in your mind. So this totally depends on your practice, on your rehearsal. So retention of anything is going to be longer if you keep on practicing the same thing for a longer period of time. The third one is mental reproduction. Replicating the behavior that has been demonstrated. So you're going to replicate that information, that behavior. That means you're going to imitate the same behavior in your mind. So we keep on mumbling and jumbling. The things keep on going on in our mind. So we have to keep on repeating all the things for a longer period of time. We have to reproduce those things mentally so that we are able to create the visual images of them. Next one is motivation. So there should be some intrinsic motivation to all of us. That is why we are going to perform better in that area. So these are the four important things: attention, retention, mental reproduction, and the last one is motivation. These four elements are very important for the observational learning. Now let's learn about the last topic of this unit, which is the forms of learning. These forms of learning are given to us by Gagne, G-A-G-N-E, Gagne. So we are going to learn about these forms of learning one by one. The first one here is the signal learning. Signal learning is similar to the classical conditioning. So as soon as the bell is ringing, we are giving the food to the dog. So this is a signal for the dog that the bell is ringing and then I am going to get the food. Similar example is with the car seat belts. As soon as we sit in the cars, there is an alarm which starts ringing if we do not wear the car seat belt. So as soon as we wear it, it stops. It's an alarm. It's a signal for us to learn something. That means we are going to retain the learning of wearing the seat belt before driving the car. The second type of learning is stimulus response learning. So stimulus response is similar to the operant conditioning. Let's take a similar example. As soon as a child sees the teacher, here is the stimulus. The child says, "Good morning, ma'am." This is a response by the child. So here for the stimulus, which is the teacher, we get the response, "Good morning, ma'am." And in return, the teacher smiles or says good morning in return, which is a reinforcement for the child. So this is called as the stimulus response learning. The next one is the chain learning. Chaining occurs when the learner is able to connect between two or more previously learned stimulus and response. So let's take an example here. Learning to tie the shoestrings, buttoning the shirt, etc. So we learned to tie the shoelaces when we were very young. Now till date, we are able to remember the same thing because it's a chain learning. We have been practicing the same thing again and again throughout the years, and so we are able to learn it so well. The next one is verbal associate learning. Occurs when the learner makes the association using the verbal connections. It is the key process in the language learning skill. Example, a child is shown an object just like a doll. The next time he sees the particular object, he will call it out as the doll. So when I'm seeing this pen here, I am showing it to a child who is just an infant right now, does not know that this is actually called as a pen. He is going to remember this picture and then he is going to call out that this is a pen. So the child is able to associate between the different things here. So this is called as verbal association. Let's learn about the multiple discrimination. Multiple discrimination means you are able to distinguish between things that look alike or the stimuluses that look alike. जो एक जैसे दिखते हैं उनको आप अलग अलग रिस्पॉन्स जो है असाइन कर सकते हैं. लेट्स टेक द एग्जांपल. You know that the chair is meant for sitting and table is meant for keeping the things. Although both the things, the chair and the table, they both are the part of the furniture, but you know their specific uses. So that means you are going to show the different responses towards the things that are actually alike. They are similar to each other, जो एक जैसी दिखती हैं, chair and table, but you are able to distinguish between them because of multiple discrimination. The next type of learning is the concept learning. Concept learning means you know the entire thing about one particular aspect. So it can be the fruits. A child knows that this one is the apple, the other one is banana, the other one is mango. Although the different things are all the parts of the fruits as well. The yellow color things can be placed all together. It can be a mango and a banana. The child would be able to distinguish between the two because he has already understood the meaning of the concept here. He knows that both the things are the fruits, but they are different. They are mango and banana. So this is how the child learns the entire concept. This is the concept learning. The next one is learning of the rules. So the child learns the rules while playing the games. For example, when the child is playing tippy tippy tap, he knows that the rule says that he needs to touch the thing of the particular color. So this is how the child learns to identify the different rules and make their use at the proper time. The last one here is the problem solving. Problem solving means that the child is given a particular situation or maybe a problem wherein he has to fix the problem. He needs to find a solution to that problem. It can be any problem. It can be a crossword. It can be a riddle. So these things are the different forms of learning. Here ends our unit. I hope that it's clear to all of you. Thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you all have subscribed to my channel. Thank you, and I would be seeing you all with more such videos.